Hi, I'm Kevin Moore, host of The Moore Show, and it's my passion to help you live your best life now. You might be looking to find answers on love, connecting with your life's purpose, reuniting with a loved one on the other side, discovering your past lives, or just helping you make sense, finding your direction now. So The Moore Show has collaborated with the most gifted readers around the world to form The Moore Show Psychics. Now, my readers have a large range of skills to choose from to be of service to you, and all my psychics are interviewed to show transparency, with each interview available on the website. So call now, dialing the numbers on the screen to speak to my operators 24/7, or go to tmspsychics.com to choose a reader or book online. The Moore Show Psychics, helping you transform your present moment into the most loving and happiest it can be. Now, I also offer a full money back guarantee, so what have you got to lose? Empower your life now.
The comments and views expressed on The Moore Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The Moore Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching The Moore Show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. Now, for the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. Now, on today's show, I'm about to be joined with Canadian communicator Tryna Gower. Now, at the age of 35, Tryna spent 2 years channeling her latest book through a connection with her native ancestors. Her book is a guide to learning how you want to be, not what you want to be. Her book takes you back to the very first step, the kindergarten of learning to create a reality that's exactly how you want it to be. Tryna Gower, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you for your healing energy work that you just did prior to me coming on the show. I really appreciate that. It's been a hectic time for me right now, and I can feel what you've just done there. So we'll get into some of your gifts and what you do as well during the interview. You're a channeler. Is that how you class yourself?
That's right. Yeah, I'm a channeler. Yeah. I am officially a psychic medium, but channeling is something that I've learned how to do and really stepped into in the last 5-6 years. And so I do it every day.
Every day, and that's something I've got to take from you in this interview, that I've got to start doing that as well, because I promised myself when I came back to Amsterdam that I will do that. So with yourself then, what does channeling mean to you?
For me, channeling is tapping into a stream of divine provided energy and knowledge and knowings, and it's provided from up there. And so when I say up there, I mean my guides, my grandma, any spirit guides that are around, but it started initially with my grandma. And so that's how I knew I was connecting, because I could feel her on the other end. So once I realized that that's what it felt like, it has a certain feeling. I always say, if you could imagine an umbilical cord, heading from your solar plexus, for me, anyhow, it's from the solar plexus up to the universe, the sky, and then there's a feeling that streams through that. And that's how I would describe it. That's how I know I'm doing it, and that's what I try to explain to people. There's a feeling.
Okay. I could go with that completely. I mean, for myself, tomorrow's different maybe, but as of today, channeling for myself has really been that process of connecting to my higher self, bringing in intuitive messages, for myself. So if there's, something I'm not too sure which way to turn, I know I can go within and ask that question. I normally start my channeling off by, a bit of meditative music, then, walking through a door. Once I'm through the door, I feel like I'm connected then. and just to use it for myself in that benefit. But for myself, I've also brought a book through, which you have as well. We'll get into that. And it's also there as a way to give people readings as well, in a sense. You can also do that with it. So channeling is just a word. Some people do not like that word. Have you come across that?
No, not yet. No.
Okay. I have, and it's okay. Yeah, and it's just, for me, it's like setting a get the word out there, a level playing field, and truth is what you want to make it. So I suppose that you can adapt the word channeling to receiving, to downloads, to that inspired action that you take. Some people channel, for example, when they're listening to their intuitive side, and they're when they're successful people, for example, may say, well, I always listen to my gut feeling. Could you go with that's the same space as well?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, before I really knew what I was doing, I always listened to my gut, and I always encouraged people, and I ran my business that way. Every move I made, of course, I have brains and I use them, but when it came to big decisions and huge movements, I always went with my gut instinct. And I think most people can say they agree there is such thing as a gut instinct. But at the same token, I read through my gut. I channel through my gut. So it's the same thing. It's just a choice of words. I know for different people, words are really important. Words mean different things to different people, the same word. However, for me, I definitely say I channel. That's the visual I see. I'm also clairvoyant, so I see the visual taking place with the feeling. So that's what I need to say. So that's the words I use.
Okay. And where did this all start for you then? I mean, what was growing up like, in a sense?
Well, growing up, I didn't know I had it, but I felt like I was loaded with common sense. I'm like, why don't they know that? Why are they not realizing? And I just knew how to fit in many different scenarios and different lifestyles. I could go hang out with the rich, I could go hang out with the poor, and I just got them all. I just felt like I could adapt. And I just felt like I was really smart and loaded with common sense. That's what I understood it as. I just knew things, but I didn't have anything weird or bizarre happening. I have been dreaming my whole life. I am a dreamer. So I dream almost every night. And so that's the part that I think was different and somewhat alarming for me. My dreams have been always very intense, very real. And then it wasn't until the last 5-6 years when I started getting my own gifts straightened out that I'm now having a lot more accurate premonitions. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that you can still mix with anyone as friends, or is there a particular type of friends for you now, in the sense that they have to be on the same level as you as well?
No, I love people. And I still feel like I really enjoy being around several different types of people. I feel that I have so much to learn from them, whatever space or place they're in. And energetically speaking, I can feel different things now, where I can feel perhaps resistance, or maybe more. I can sense if there's negativity happening, where I'd feel less pleasure in hanging out with them. However, I still find there's so much to learn from all types of people.
Well, that is true. I think for myself, though, I think, I feel that my friends are changing, and I feel that's, I find it difficult sometimes to be myself in front of some of the old friends I've had, because we're just on such different levels. Could you do, I mean, is that a better way of terming the question to you? Could you get that?
I spoke about that in my book a little bit, and a friend of mine once called that a friendectomy. So you lose a bunch of friends as you raise your vibration, because you're no longer on the same level as you mentioned, and then a new batch come in, and and then you're aligned with them. For me, I feel like maybe they're not in my physical space anymore, but I still have space for them in my heart and in my energy. So I thank them for the role they played in my life, and you just don't have time for everybody anymore either, right? Unfortunately, that happens. But I would say my tolerance level is pretty high. Because when I see these people, especially people who resist maybe energy stuff, or don't believe, or would like to challenge things that you're saying, I really look at them, and I really feel like well, that's where they're at, and they're entitled to be there. So it's not really about them judging me or disliking where I'm at. It's where they're at, and I have to let them have that.
Yeah. I think I've just become the boring one at the party nowadays. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, my parties are probably a little bit different to theirs, but that's all good. That's just part of the process, isn't it? That's part of the process. We all go through that. Now, did you become aware and awake of your ability as you got older as well? When did you start using the ability? Or when did you start recognizing that there was this ability there to channel as well?
Well, that's what my book is about. So my grandma, so my Cree Indian grandma, she was the absolute gem of my life as far as a woman relationship is concerned. She was just the apple of my eye. And her and I were so close growing up. She raised me. She didn't raise me, but we had a relationship like she was a mother figure. Anyhow, so growing up with her, she was Indian for the first 5, 6 years of my life, and then I got into a bad accident because they were alcoholics. So when I got hit by a drunk driver and my leg got crushed, they stopped. My grandparents stopped drinking.
Wow.
And yeah, so after that, it was a turning point. They moved to a new house. They dumped all their friends. They turned essentially white. My grandfather's white. He's Polish, Czechoslovakian. And so we lived a very white life. We were not allowed to talk. I couldn't hear the Cree language in the house. I wasn't allowed to make bannock, like just things like that. We were very, very white now. Then a few years before she died, she was very frail and very white and very, she's looking like she was ready to meet her maker. And in that process, I was starting to recognize, and she came out of her room one day and she looked so terrified. And I said, Grandma, what's the matter? You look so scared. And she said, Birdie, and that's my nickname. She said, I am so scared to die. And I said, oh, Grandma, we're all going to die. I know it's not cool, but we're all going to go there. What's the big deal? And, she's 82 years old. And she said, I'm so afraid. I don't know if I'm going up or down. And I said, oh, Grandma, you're Catholic. You're going up. And I just joked with her. I always had this like cheeky, jokey personality in the family. And so she said, do you think so? And so we had this conversation. I said, well, how about this? How about when you get to the other side, you mess with my pictures? You, send me something because I'm a photographer, a professional photographer, and my whole family loves photos. And when I said that, she said, oh, that's crazy, as if that's crazy. And she's like, oh, impossible. And anyway, so we joked about that for a few years, and she was constantly repeating her stories before she passed away. And then on her deathbed, she asked me to leave the room because it was getting close to that time. She didn't want me there. And then I went over to her and I whispered into her face and I said, Grandma, and I was holding her hands and I looked her in the eyes and said, Grandma, do not forget about the pictures. She very gently looked at me and said, do you mean that? And I said, yes. And then she pointed to the door and out I went. 6 months after, pictures started falling off walls, going down hallways, turning corners, not broken, not scratched, not anything. Pictures of her that I've never seen before emailed themselves to me. They were just wild, like just wild events were happening.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah.
All kinds of physical, and my husband, who's I call him Mr. Black and White, doesn't believe in any of this stuff, right?
Right.
And he at first, oh, the house shifted, but then when the photos and stuff started emailing with weird dates, and he's like, okay, this is kind of weird. So I really started losing my mind, my logical mind. I started thinking I needed to go and get some therapy. So I actually went to a counselor. And the counselor, I got to the door and the counselor told me that I was fine and I didn't need her and sent me away. That was a turning point. I thought, who goes to a counselor and isn't taken in? So after that, I met all these spiritual, beautiful people, and they helped coach me. And I was getting these messages. I got strange body. My body would go freezing. I was getting all these physical sensations, and I would talk to these people that just happened to cross my path who were spiritual leaders and teachers, and they would help me and guide me to figure out what to do with it. And then I had met a teacher actually over in Europe, and she sat down with me, and I did my very first reading with her on I think it was my second class. She said, do a reading right now. And I said, oh my gosh, I don't know how. And she said, yes, you do. So I just closed my eyes and did one, and it was very accurate. And she said, see, you're starting in the advanced class. And it was just a funny chain of events because it's synchronicities. It's just all in divine timing. You think you don't know, but you know. You do know. It's just aligning yourself with the people that can help you fall into it. That's the trick.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I remember when I started channeling, I lost everything, relationship, money, everything, with a place to live. The whole caboodle.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it took for me to hear the voice. I don't think I would have listened otherwise, because I had nothing more to go for. It felt like So it's all different situations, isn't it? When it's almost like we've all got a different path to follow to get to that point, if we so wish. Do we have to get to any of these points? Can we not just, for someone listening to this now, can they not just go into a meditative state, ask a question to themselves, and hear their own voice come back and listen to what that voice says in response to their question? Could it be as simple as that?
Yes, I do believe so. I believe I do a number of readings on people, and majority, probably like 80% of the people that cross my path are absolutely intuitive themselves. They just don't have the skills, and they haven't had the opportunity to learn how to sink in. It's as simple as that. But logic overrides so much. That's the big crisis, is the logic.
Yes, because for me, and I've openly said about this before, hopefully I've said about this before, that it's almost a process of just believing in what comes through. I felt sometimes that I was making it up, that this is just an imagination that wants to come through. But even if that is the case, your imagination then is very loving and very caring towards you, caring enough to give you such wonderful advice, and such beautiful information can come through as well. So, making it up or not, whatever that may be, it's still empowering to give this a go, because there's nothing more empowering, is there, than coming up with a solution yourself. We're coming up with that intuitive side of yourself, that just trusting it and going with it.
And I totally agree. And the other thing is it's so powerful. So if it's just your imagination running wild on you, how powerful is that, though, if it gives you the will and the drive and the passion to start the thing you've desired to do?
Absolutely. It's absolutely incredible. But most people, and myself at some points, or have done, shall I say, want to be told what to think, told what to say, told what to do, because self-responsibility is an amazingly scary thing as well, and we don't love ourselves enough to think that we have that power within.
Yes, and I completely agree. That is also why people seek for readings, because they're searching for answers outside themselves, searching for validation. But you hit it right on the head. It's the self-love thing. That's huge, self-love. And why is that? So it's interesting, because generation after generation, it's the same problem. But at the same token, if people love themselves, they feel like they would be considered arrogant or fake, or I don't know. It's amazing to see how that was passed down for so long.
Yes, and the greater majority of the planet Earth do not believe in the continuation of consciousness, or that we are consciousness having an experience. So, they're fully blocked off from ever coming across these subjects. But I don't see that as a wrong or right thing. I just see it as that's what the soul's chosen to come here to have that experience. And with free will along their path in any moment of their life, they can choose to look at these subjects if they're willing to look at something alternative compared to what they've been banging their head against in the first place. Just because, my point is, just because a soul's maybe chosen to have a life of, no freedom in a sense, or of the greater reality, that doesn't mean there's not free will along any point for them to have that experience,
Yes,
even if any of that's right, what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. I agree, but I do also think it's all about divine timing. So, for example, I had my 40th birthday this year, and I wasn't ready for any of this until now. Even 6 years ago, before this started, I had no idea about spirituality. I remember saying, I think I'm spiritual, but I have no idea what that means. I knew nothing. And so people need to be able to have that time when it's the right time for them. So another thing that I've experienced is when I started this 6 years ago in my small town of Dawson Creek, I had a lot of resistance and a lot of judgment, especially from the business community, who seen me as more of a professional and leader. And all of a sudden I'm doing spiritual stuff and hokey pokey stuff. And so I did get some judgment. And however, 3 years later, our whole community has exploded. There is so much happening in our little area. We're sitting on somewhat of a vortex over in this area. And so now it's pretty much the norm. So, starting out was rough. However, you keep going, you keep being, and 3 years later, the popcorn pot has just burst over. And so they need their own time. They need time. So especially if you're doing stuff like leading or introducing, you have to be willing to take some of that heat, and you have to be willing to understand that your time isn't necessarily their time.
And spirit time is different as well, which we're so we're so impatient sometimes, but spirit has a different time frame, or no time, and so it does take a bit longer when you're working with them as well. You talk about so when was your awakening period? What sort of age was that? Was there a pinnacle age, or
35 is when it all started for me.
35, yeah. There's something about 30 to 35. There's something about the 30s, or there's something very powerful about that age. Big things tend to shift then. There's some big events can happen in people's lives. But then I've interviewed people in their younger 20s who have this ability now. So there is no race line. I would say maybe they've chosen to come into this lifetime with that ability. God knows the planet needs it right now. Yes. But at the same time, it's not easy. No matter at what age you come to the point, be it even in your 60s or later, when you've become aware that you call the word spiritual there. I've used the word spiritual, but I reject that word sometimes and say, it's not even that really. It's just being aware that your consciousness is having a human experience, because these words come with baggage sometimes. And I think it's never an easy moment in your life when you awaken, because your old life just goes to shit. Everything's cleared away. Friends are cleared away. Lovers cleared away. Everything's removed, and you're very isolated sometimes. I'm experiencing that right now. And there's another person that's doing a documentary with me. She's feeling that isolation right now. You go into this caveman time scenario sometimes, right? There's all sorts of things that happen with it. It's not an easy process. So there's times when I say, I just want to go back. Put me back. I want to be ignorant, and I don't want any responsibility, but you can't go back, can you? Once you've had the awakening.
Yes, no, I agree. I feel like, as far as feeling isolated, I did have that for sure. I am a Pisces, so I naturally swim backwards and hide out. However, I do find that my biggest refuge is when I meet like-minded people, and I have gathered and somehow brought in a large group of like-minded people who I can reach out to, and I have a real support system, and likewise with them, right? So we're all helping each other, and nothing's weird, nothing's strange. We're all totally open. And as you said about the friendectomy, a whole bunch of friends did go, but then a tremendous number of new like-mindeds walked in at the same time. So you have to be willing to be open to let them in.
Yes, that's so true. I love the word friendectomy. I'll have to remember that one, right? And sometimes, though, you can be on they're not there. They're not there, and you are completely on your own. But I think that's so true that when they are there, maybe they could be there remotely as well. I think I've made a lot of friends through this community remotely as well, and that's just as fulfilling sometimes as them being there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or you have to just be happy that that's what you've got, right? Content, right, and grateful for that. So that scenario can come in different forms, but yeah, I think that's why I feel a bit of a pull to Sedona a little bit for myself towards the end of this year, not just for the documentary, but yeah, maybe, who knows? I'm not, I will come up with that by channeling it myself. But yeah, to be in that community. But there's sometimes in that community, they're not always the nicest people. We can say that we're spiritually advanced and blah, blah, blah. But, you're a human being. I'm a human being. We have this ability that we've worked on. It doesn't make us super nice people sometimes. You would think that people with these gifts are the most amazing people, but not all of them. They're shitbags, some of them, I've got to say, right? Sorry to say that some of them are the worst, right? Yet they've got this beautiful ability, and they're helping so many people, but they're not the nicest people.
Yeah, and I feel like that also has a lot to do with sensitivities. One of the things that John Holland says is the price of sensitivity is sensitivity. And I do find that, sometimes we are like, my feelings would get hurt a lot more easily now. Well, not so much now because I've worked through a lot of that. But in the beginning, when I was first opening, you felt everything. You see everything. Like, for example, I was telling this to a client just yesterday, and we had a little chuckle about it. I can't even wear deodorant or antiperspirant on reading days because I'll get blisters. Like, it's just, you get so sensitive to people and things and the environment that unless you learn how to not only channel in messages, channel in divine love, you can be a total jerk. So you've got to manage it. It's a thing you have to manage.
Yeah, but some people don't, and they'll probably go through all their life. That what I'm getting down to here is that as well, we all have issues, and when you do this work, and even those looking to improve themselves in this moment right now, watching this, I maybe I'm going on a new thread for this year, but it's we all have internal tapes, we all have internal issues. And some of us don't want to even correct those, look at healing those, transforming those issues, do we? We don't want to look at the ugly side of us. And I think by looking at those issues, it's very fulfilling, more fulfilling than anything really, to help yourself transform those issues. Maybe they're from past lives or whatever, right? But they're there no matter what. And when you do work on them, you become a better you, better than what you was before, and more happier and content. Because some of this stuff to people are saying, oh, that's just boring, but it's so fulfilling when you do that, but that's got to come from the person to have that aha moment to want to do that as well.
Well, a lot of that has to do with our beloved ego. And I'm a master at ego. I was an egomaniac before all of this. And I'll tell you, I had some beautiful teachers let me know that. But that was with absolute love and respect. And because I was willing to go there, and it's your responsibility to take care of yourself, spiritually speaking. And ethically speaking, you have a responsibility to yourself to clean up and work on those things. And you're right, everybody has them. Everybody's working on something all the time, including myself, yourself. But it's the people who resist going there that don't grow. And those of us that go, okay, I'm going to work on that. I'll step up to this ego thing here and I'm going to learn. And sometimes the most beautiful teachers are the ones that give it to you straight. And I'm really thankful for those people because they come in and they're gifting it to you with love. It's actually kindness because they want you to overcome that challenge. And one of the things I did, because I thought, I'm responsible for my life. Everything I create, I'm responsible for. Now, there's things that come into our life that are synchronistic or whatever, and then it's our choice how we respond. But one of the things I did do, I don't know if you can see, on my hand, I tattooed the word essence. And it was because I'm a photographer, so my hands are always around my face. And when I was going through this major ego lesson and getting in touch with my ego and trying to overcome some of those old habits and old challenges, I would see the word essence on my hand all of the time. And it would remind me, if I'm being a jerk or grumpy or whatever, that I was to go back to that gentle place within and channel in and listen to myself and make a better choice. And so I took an action and I set myself up so that I could have a friendly reminder, and it's worked. So I do things like that. I'll write words on a mirror. I'll do things that help me remember what my objective and goal is. It's your responsibility to yourself.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting what you've just said there, and that could go off in a number of tangents, but my brain's just not working well enough right now to keep up. There's a lot we're saying here, which is really powerful stuff, actually. Just going back to your gift as well, when did you start to, because obviously you've got a full-time job doing something else, when did you start to sort of see a balance then between, your gift as a medium and your gift as this other you that you've got, which is in the real, not in the real world, but in the physical world, and this gift that you've got in the spiritual world. Did you think you needed to have one foot in the spiritual, one foot in the matrix, in a sense, right?
Yeah. I'm really lucky. I own a design company, so we do website development, branding, marketing, video, photography, blah, blah, blah. But what happened was I built this large business downtown in my hometown here. And just in the 6 months after I opened this big enterprise, I started opening channeling. It just happened. The timing was wild. So both happened at the same time. I channeled this book for 2 years while I was built this company. And so then I got it to a really wonderful place. But then the economy took a major downswing just in time when my channeling really started taking off. So it looked really strange and it isn't my style, but I built this company and then I literally had to take it away. But the moment I took it away, I stepped right into my channeling and my psychic work.
Wow,
So
that's incredible.
yeah, I feel like they were meant to go together. And so for our customers in our design company, when I'm working with customers, I do a lot of intuitive work. I can help get in there and feel out what their brand is, and I can really establish that. So it helps me at work, and all of our customers know we're not quiet about it. We're very open, and we have customers in the oil field industry, and we have customers in the spirituality industry. Like, we have all types of people, but because I have this business background, I'm really stable and structured in business. However, I have the ability to tap in creatively. So then I had to make a big choice. What am I going to do? So I literally closed that shop and put my business completely online. So we still have it, but that allowed me a lot more time to go in and finish the book and get connected with people and really launch this business I'm doing now.
Well, you're an inspiration for others because, for myself and for others as well, I think, it is good for me to have one foot in the spiritual, one foot in the physical world as well. Because if I put all my feet just in the spiritual, I don't think I would be as fulfilled as keeping both in one of the. But then I say that, I mean, my main income right now is just from doing these interviews and the subsidiaries that come from that. But actually, I'm just about to launch a psychic network, which is a bit more in the physical, but it is still got that metaphysical side to it. I kind of do miss having that that company that was selling stuff online or an e-commerce venture, but that at the same time you can't do it all. You can only do what you can do, and this has been consumed me, and if I stop this now, there'll be no income from anything else. So I've had to build things around this, but it's almost like life knows what's best for you when you just flow. You can resist as much as you want. I mean, like I said to you before this interview, I came to Amsterdam for a completely different thing. But it was like, no, this is not for you. And it's like you have to go through it just to get near to the point of launch and just to realize, oh, this is not for me. And you have to just not see it as failure, but just see it as there's a bigger picture all the time.
And sometimes when you logic yourself into a pinhole, right? So you logic yourself to a certain point, and then the walls come crashing down. And then when you sink in and fall in and let the universe guide you, it's so easy. Everything is effortless. It's easy. It's beautiful. And so I was saying I was an ego champion. I was the master of egoness. But when I learned, I'm still working on that a little bit, but when I learned to really let go of the majority of that, I seen so many things literally fall on my lap, opportunities, phones ringing, and I went, how does this even happen? Like when I went to Sedona the first time 5 years ago, I sat in the back row of this spiritual conference I didn't even think I wanted to be at. I went with a friend, and then I met this beautiful lady, Heather Beck, in the back row, who is a speaker and author and a divine, lovely lady. And her and I have built this amazing relationship since, and it's really helped me get in touch with who I am and grow my Be Real conference and all kinds of things. So basically, I didn't plan for that. I didn't prepare for that. The authentic stuff just happens. You don't have to force. You don't have to manipulate. You don't have to try. You just be.
Yeah, and I suppose I'm just sharing my stuff here, just in case it helps anyone else. That there's been a lot of regret. So I didn't see that through. I didn't do that. I wish I could have done that. But you're where you're at sometimes, and you have to just be. You have to let go. You have to just come back to present moment, I suppose, is what I'm saying, and say, well, what's been is been. That's gone. Bye bye. And do not be too stressed about what's around the corner. Where am I right now? That's what matters. Trying to be content in the moment and happy in the moment right now. And I think for myself, the journey this has taken me on with the channeling as well, is that to be content is really to live purpose. So if you're doing something that you love, and other things that you love, that purpose, it carries you, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Love, and it sounds cliche, but love is the answer to everything. And if you live by that, and I always say, oh, you're living on love? Well, you should be, right? You should be living on love, because it will take you where you need to go. The resistance is something that we've all experienced. We do, it's a human thing we do all the time. However, when you can learn to release and let go, it's almost like a flood just comes at you 100 miles an hour, where you so many good things, you don't even know how fast you can grab it. It's that wonderful. So for me, being a logical business person for 20 years and then popping into channeling, and then I just had so many amazing experiences right off the hop that I went, wow, this is easy. This is easy. This is easy. And it's all been so wonderful and glorious. And then the only thing is you have to remember to keep working on yourself. And not that there's anything wrong with you. You're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're all of those things. But let's face it, there are things within us that stump us, that trip us up. So if we don't get in touch with it and acknowledge it, then we're not going to be able to undo those layers and fly.
That's right. And I think by channeling and going into yourself, or meditatively going into yourself, right? I just want to use that word just for those who may not like the word channeling, that's all.
Sure.
Sure. I've got no issue. I'm doing a channeling documentary, but is that I've losing my train of thought here completely. It's just left me there. I was like, oh, that's a good point. Say that to her. Right, hang on a minute. Let me get it back. It was something what you just...
Kevin, channel it in.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that was it. Is that when we do channel in, that... well, I think what I was going to say, because I've lost it again just right now. What's going on here, right? Is that when you do channel in, I think I was going to say that that's the most powerful place to come from to get those answers, but I don't think it was that I was going to say. I'm just trying to fill airtime here, that's all. I'll be honest.
That's a really good point, Kevin, because here's the other thing. That's the reality, is when you're working with energy and divine, nothing's perfect. We're supposed to be here filling your show and doing all this talking, but if you lose your train of thought, that's real, that's authentic, that's happening. And that's what I try to teach people too, is when they come in for sessions and things, is they know some of what's happening, but it's all about being authentic, saying, you know what, I just don't know. I don't know what I don't know, but here's what I do know. And it's about, when you say meditative, dialing in, there's all kinds of words, but for me, I'd just like to say this much. I would like people to understand that everybody can do this on whatever level, and everybody has their own unique spin on the gift. Everybody that I've come across, it's so beautiful for me to watch and see what it is they do have. It's different than what I have lots of times, and I think it's fascinating. Like, some people can focus on health issues strictly, and I think that's amazing.
That's so true. All the channelers have their own unique individual connection. It's who they're connected with that's coming through. So let's actually bring that into the conversation right now as well. So when I channel, I'm trying to set up a new paradigm of channeling. That's what my channeling's allowed me to do, where I was channeling a group consciousness called The One, and it's a group, and one of the group was Edgar Casey, an aspect of Casey, put it that way, and some interesting people on this group. But what it's allowed me to do is to change my viewpoint on it, and I'm trying to take more self-responsibility that this is me, that this is coming from my higher self, and maybe there is a group consciousness at the back, but actually to start off with, yes, this is coming from me. Because I think when some channelers channel and they change their persona and voice, I think that's an old paradigm of doing, nothing wrong with it, but I think there's a newer energy that's coming in, where it's in real time, and it's also without taking on a persona, almost like the persona was there in the first place, maybe. And this is just my truth, doesn't have to be anyone else's, because maybe the channelers didn't feel that they had the love to themselves, that they were powerful enough that this was coming from them, and it was from their higher self. I don't know, maybe, right? I'm not, if someone's got a different take on that, that's fine. No disrespect to anyone. That's just my sort of thought pattern right now. What do you think of that?
I feel like that, as far as channeling is going, a lot of people don't trust what they're getting. So you're talking about this new paradigm, but I feel like there's just a total shift in the universal energy, period, that everything's shifted. And we're on a 1 year now, right? Like everything's changed. And so I feel like as far as things shifting and changing, I feel like nothing is certain ever. Does that make sense? I know I kind of swung off here a little bit, but then I feel like I'm channeling in the moment, so I'm feeling like I have to listen. And I guess this is interesting because this is what happens is when you work with channel, you can have a certain a guide or a message or something coming through, and then the next day you could have a different one, right? Is that kind of what you're saying too? How you're switching?
No, I wasn't even. I was no, just very simply. I was just saying that that paradigm shift in the way that people do channel, where it's not a persona change, where it's almost like I'm talking to you in real time right now, and that I'm not changing my tone of my voice or my body language. It's just me real time right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there's so many different aspects. There's so many different conversations that, you could have. And I feel like for me, one of the interesting things that have happened this last, I don't know, maybe 6 months is that I've actually been channeling in different languages. So my first one started out with a grandma from Greece, and then I had some people from East India, and I had some people from London, and I'm, getting different voices and things like that. Have you ever had something like that happen?
Yes, I've channeled light beings, different types of consciousness, people not incarnated anymore, and there is a slight persona change, a slight change, right? But it's still in English. But I think I've asked for it not to come through to distort me. I want it to be me still. So maybe that's my ego getting in the way. But then again, I guess I've come to my own conclusion that I want to show people that there's nothing wrong with this, and you can still be you and not lose you in any of this process. You'll still be you. And I think some people, it puts them off to think that they would have to change their persona, but actually you don't. That's the thing. It's whatever works for you.
That's a really good point, because it's really important to me that I remain a human being and I'm functioning in today's day and age in life, but I still have the ability to call on this when I need it and when I want to access it. So I feel like it's also exhausting. So as much as you could do it all day every day, that would be really exhausting, and who would want to do that? Because it's a lot. But it's super important, especially when you're running a business or trying to achieve goals. You need to have your logic. You need to have a bit of your ego. It's important. You need both.
You do, and the mind's there for a reason, and by balancing the logical with the intuitive, you'll get the best results sometimes as well. But then again, did I balance the logical with the intuitive when I channeled last a week ago? No, I just went with what it said because it felt so right. I didn't need to embrace my logical side, but sometimes with business, I suppose that's different. There is a logical side that needs to be embraced there as well in that conversation. I guess I'm talking about a different type of scenario there. Yeah.
Well, when I was writing my book, so it first started coming channeled, and I would be sitting at my office in my business, and all of a sudden a blast of a paragraph would come, and I'd go, oh my gosh, what was that? Because I didn't know really what was happening. I'd just be compelled to write this down. I'd scribble it on a napkin at a restaurant. I'd have all these pieces of paper and piles, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? And then I went, oh my gosh, and then I had a visit with an intuitive. And she told me that I was going to be writing a book. So this must be the book. So I started piling these things. And then I signed up for a logical writing course online, paid $600 or something like that. Took the course, started to write logically. The book was garbage. It was so horrible. It was just crap. I couldn't get into it. And then I just went, enough of that. I just pushed it to the side, and then I went to a writing course, an automatic writing course, and I took that, and then I started channeling this book. So I thought, I was channeling up to 1,200 words in 15 minutes for 3 days straight, like just flying. My fingers were just flying.
Wow.
And then the teacher had come over and said, "Oh my gosh, what's going on here? You've really got a talent." And I'm like, I don't know, right? So I just laughed. And what I realized, because I went back to Sedona a year after that to finish the book with the same teacher in the same class. But when I got there, I literally started rewriting it. Now a year had passed, so times have changed, different experiences have happened. But really, what was interesting was I went, "Oh my gosh, this book has changed somewhat. Why?" So I asked, and when I reread my book just at the beginning of Sedona, take 2. I realized that first book I channeled was actually my grandma, who's featured in the book, telling me all of the things I needed to do and I needed to learn in order to become.
Wow.
Become a medium, become a psychic, become my best self, become love, whatever that means to me. And so when I read it, I went, "Wow, this is like a how-to manual. This can't be a good book. It's very how-to." But then I read, and when I reread it, because I hadn't looked at it in a year, so from when I first wrote it, I just kind of pushed it away. Thought, I don't know what that was all about. And it kind of scared me. And when I pulled it back, I went, "Oh, it is a how-to manual. It's a how-to manual for me, from my grandma." So the second take, when I went to Sedona, the second time, I just flew and I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And the book just came out effortlessly. I had no idea how or why. I never wanted to become an author. I didn't have any desires to do such a thing, but it just happened. And so that's how you just know when something's being channeled or flowing through you. You just go with it. So if at the end of the day, it was like, if I can write a book so effortlessly and so easy, anybody can. But the divine tool was channeling.
Yeah. That's thank you so much for sharing that as well. And Sedona, of all places to go to, where the energy is quite high as well.
It was magnificent. I've been there 3 times now, and each time twice. I've been there twice, and each time has been absolutely indescribable. You can't even explain what happens there. It's pretty remarkable.
No, that's right. On the second time then, who were you connecting with? Was it a group, or was it one entity, or?
It was a group. By that time I had opened up so much that I could access other people. Now I have an army now, but it's mostly my grandma. And I think it's partly because I always call to her, it feels safe, it feels secure.
Mm-hmm.
But, in Sedona, the second round, I had a whole bunch of new guides come through, and I actually started picking up my dog who passed away, and I hadn't channeled animals before that. So that was really cool. I had my first experience with that there. So they were showing me that there's more to it. There's far more things available, and they give me something safe and comfortable that I can take in, because I think logically I might reject some of it if it comes too heavy too fast.
Yeah.
And so then when I realized I had a lot more guides, and since Sedona, I've actually had a lot more visits from Aboriginal guides and chiefs and councils. And so every 6 months or so, I feel like just big shifts are happening, but it is because I keep asking for it. I say, I'm ready. I'm ready to learn, but I also say I listen. So if I'm being directed to do something, even if it's not something I logically think is cool, I still listen. And I feel like because I'm listening, I get rewarded.
Okay. And who are you connecting with nowadays then?
I connect always with my grandma. I've got a gatekeeper. I do have this Aboriginal crowd, but I don't ask specifically for one because they seem to come in a group. And then I have been getting a lot of my family members that have passed on lately, and with very specific messages. So I find that interesting. I'm getting a lot of encouragement from them. Keep going, you're doing well. And it's interesting because you think any family member would say that, but it's the way in which they say it, and it's how they deliver the message it actually lifts me. I can absolutely take that as a solid stamp and go.
That's beautiful. That really is very beautiful. Okay. So let's just move this on a little bit to relationships as well. So obviously, was you with the same partner when this transformation started to take place for yourself, when you started to receive?
Good question and topic, Kevin. Yes, I've been with my husband. We just celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
And, yeah, thank you. And I don't think when we got married that he signed up to be married to a psychic medium by any stretch. So the first few years of this transformation for me was a bit difficult for sure because I call him Mr. Black and White and I'm Miss Creative, right? And we've always known that about each other. However, the first time I said to him, I said, you know what, I think I'm a psychic because I was just knowing things. And I'm just kind of throwing it out there. I wasn't really serious, but I just kind of threw it out there. And he's like, you are not. And I said, well, I said, most people think with their brain, but for some reason I feel like I think with my stomach. I feel like that's where my answers always come. Yeah. He's like, you think with your stomach, you think with your head. And we would have these little disagreements. Well, sometimes they weren't that little, right? We'd have these disagreements. And then, but over the years, and in my head, I thought, oh, are we gonna make it? Because we're so different that way. But I have a pretty amazing husband, and luckily he's patient and accepting. I just needed to allow him the time to adjust. He needed time. And now it's wonderful. It's great. He's fine. He's not jumping on the spiritual bandwagon by really any means. However, he's very open to it, and he's very understanding and accepting now.
It's a strange one, this one for me, because that's a beautiful story, by the way, that he was meant to have been with you in this transition period, and he's very understanding of that. That's really great that he's and I bet that's doing him a lot of good, and maybe it's also to balance you out a little bit as well. Maybe that's something in this time that you needed, that logical side, just to give you the balance, yes. and to reassure that you're on the right path. For myself, I think being single and just enjoying the process of knowing that I'm going to meet someone, that knowing that I'm, I know she's out there. I do, and I can't wait to bump into her, and it's just flowing with it. But I think, could I see myself with someone that was completely switched off? I would struggle with that concept right now because I've been there, done it, worn the t-shirt. I'm not saying just because they were the wrong ones that this new one, even if she wasn't spiritual, would still be perfect. Right. I just, there's part of me that thinks, I really want to be with someone that's on that same path. But then there's someone, the other part of me that says, yeah, but if you get involved with someone in the industry, as in that's a medium or psychic, whatever ability they may have, right, that did happen, that could be quite hard work because they're going through a lot of stuff, probably. So, I've not got the answer to that yet. I just, maybe we're attracted to, or we go with the people that we've chosen to have an experience with. Maybe that's it. It's as simple as that, the answer is.
And I feel like, especially for you, I feel like it's the word I'm hearing is allow. Allow that. Just whatever that is, you'll know when you find her, and you'll know. And then when things aren't in perfect alignment with you, allow her to be her. She's her and you're you. And so you have to find that place where you respect them for who they are, not who you are.
Yes, that's thank you for that. Yeah. I hope I would have been automatically without hearing that, but that's nice to hear that, or a reminder. Yeah, of course, I wouldn't want it any other way. And if that's someone that's not in a lot, with the same viewpoints as me, that's perfect as well, because it's deeper than that. Sometimes it's called love.
Yeah.
And love has no boundaries like that, in a sense. So kind of like I've just answered my own question. So
yes, you have. The other thing too is, like, the great thing about our relationship is we talk about it a bit, and it's light, but you're right. He is my logical, my down to earth balance. I'm sure I absolutely need a man like him. However, I also have this army of spiritual friends and people who are outside of that relationship. So really, one is a break from the other, right? And you get all you need in your different circles.
Now, there's no issue, is there, with this work and making lots and lots of money, manifesting wealth? I think one of my biggest issues that I've got, which I'm sorting out this year. I'm started now. I'll be meditating tomorrow, channeling these issues. So I will. But is these vows of poverty that I've brought in from past lives, I think, to myself. These vows of not being, not believing that I can succeed. I don't believe I can succeed, and I know I've got to heal that, right? But we all have these vows, don't we? Or in some respects, deep buried things that So law of attraction, in the sense of manifestation of money, if that's really what you want, which I do want someone, I do want to have more money. There's no doubt whatsoever, to do different things with, just to have it there maybe. What has your teachings taught you about the law of attraction?
That's interesting that you're bringing that up. That's really what I've been focusing on this last 6 months myself. Law of attraction, there's a couple people that have crossed my path in my life that I feel like were just brilliant. They had no idea they were doing it. I've got brilliant teachers, and I'm always reading and researching about this topic. However, the fact is I've seen a couple people that I've met over my life that have had big dreams and a solid imagination of, I want to live in the city in the US. I want to have a jet plane. I want to be with the rich. I want to dress beautiful. I want to, all these big pipe dreams essentially. And so interestingly, I knew the woman, 20, 30 years ago, and I watched her, and she walked the talk and all of this stuff, and she was beautiful, but and lived in a small little house and didn't necessarily have it. But now, 20 some years later, has all of it, because in her mind, she made that scene up, and she played it over and over and over and over and over again, because she felt in her heart she so desired that. I seen it again just recently with a younger guy that I know. Same thing. He moved away, went to the States, built a business, blah, blah, blah. And he is doing the exact same thing. But in my observation, it's much more about, if you can use your imagination, imagine it, put a big pipe dream into your dream space, and then you have to finish it off with heart. You got to have heart for the topic, and you got to have heart and desire, and it's so strong that you are going to get there.
Heart as in, I would love this, it makes me feel good. Is that what you mean by heart?
Heart as in, I can do this, I'm doing this, heart and drive, like passion and a knowingness that you are worthy, you can do it. And not only can you do it, you are doing it right now. And when I see these people, and I saw them act this way for some time, and then I went, I just the other day was visualizing these two people in my mind, they're separate cases, going, wow, that's what it looks like. That's exactly what it looks like.
Okay, so in the Seth material, there was a common quote in the Seth material that was there. Well, Jane Roberts had it in her house as well. It was simple. I create my reality. Mm-hmm. So going back to those two examples, if we create our reality, if our thoughts are that powerful, are you saying that these people were thinking of this a lot of the time, that the successful outcome of what they were trying to achieve, and it was on their mind more than most things are on their mind?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And you have to also include the ingredient of time. Like the one I'm saying, took 20 years, right? But it wasn't nothing to everything. It was slowly building and going up.
Right. Yes,
right?
Yes.
And so each thing is important, and each thing leads to the next, which builds the pot at the end.
But they always knew what the end was in that 20-year, 10-year, 5-year span. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's when you really like someone, you think of them a lot, don't you?
Yes.
And you attract them to you in ways which, whatever that way is, right? Mm-hmm. So how can you transform that for liking someone into your passion? How can you put the amount of energy that you put into that into your passion as well? Or into that which you want to see, just as these two people, as an example, foresaw and created that reality. It's how do that you almost want that same type of passion where it's all the time. Well, I'm not driving you obsessively insane with it, but at least once in the daytime to just you could meditate with that. You can meditate with that thought once a day of where you want to be, what you foresee. If it's a company you want, or do you have to be specific, and could you meditate on it to attract it?
You can meditate, but for me it's much more deeper. It's the I am that in your mind and in your heart. In your soul, you have to believe you already are that. So, for example, I'll give you a scenario. I'm also I'm also decent at the law of attraction. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'll tell you, when I was 5 years old, I started the practicing the law of attraction, and I had no idea I was doing it. So, for example, we were really poor, and we didn't have a lot of toys. My sister and I would sit and look at the Sears catalog, and we would pick something off every page that would be in our house, and we do all this work. Anyways, I would say I'm going to live on Bear Mountain, which is the place I live. I want to have fancy, beautiful chandeliers. I want a blonde-haired, blue-eyed husband who's a good father, and I want a circle drive. Okay? And I would repeat this thing over and over and over from when I was like 5 to 10 probably. And I would say the same thing. And I just imagine living in this beautiful house with these chandeliers and blah, 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 blah. Well, right now, I live on Bear Mountain with 3 chandeliers, a circle drive, blonde-haired, blue-eyed husband who is a wonderful, amazing husband. He's a firefighter. And I have all of those things I kept repeating that I so desired with all of my heart.
I need to do the same. Maybe not husband, but the idea of the idea of where you want to see yourself and where you want to be. Yeah.
Well, the other part of it is when I was a little girl, I always dreamed about being in the movies, so being an actress, okay? But now I'm a photographer, videographer, publisher. I have all of those other aspects. I'm as close to it as I can get in Northern Canada at this particular time. Of course, I can extend and create that further, and I do plan to do that.
Good.
But you see, I set my intention back there, and I got pretty darn close. I will get there. I'm going there. I still know that's my truth. I still know that's who I am. So it's just a matter of time, and it's a matter of how much energy I put there. So everything you've created is what you've intended, essentially.
So if you've created a reality that you're not too happy with at all, and that's quite a depressive reality, over time, because this is not going to be instant, but you can uncreate it in the moment now by choosing a new one and focusing on that and having the belief in yourself that you do create your reality. If you don't believe in that, and you know you're not, this is going to mean nothing to you, but it does work. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. And the other thing is people, I feel like if they did have a past experience that was rough and they've created something they're not pleased with, I feel like they may not have the self-confidence or the self-love, we'll go back to that for a second, to create what they want. But I am so thankful for the imagination that I have, because it's my imagination that allows me to go up there and play and explore, and I don't have to tell anybody what's going on up there, right? And so when I was a kid, that was the place I would escape to all of the time. I didn't have I don't have fond memories of my childhood, but when I was in troubled times, that's where I would go. And I could be anything I wanted there.
Yeah, I think what you make me feel as well is that I think when I'm going to attract to myself is I do want a family, a basis. Yeah, I can just see myself in a front room just chilling out with everyone. And, I think sometimes we don't always have what we really want in the moment now, because you wouldn't appreciate it all the time. And we all go through. You can never judge your journey on someone else's journey. It's just because they seem like they're having it so easy. Everything's so easy. Right. You don't know what they got up to into a past life, if such things existed. They may have had it very hard. 2, you don't know what is easy. Is it really easy to them, or have they had to work really hard for it? You don't know. Whatever it is, you just can't judge yourself on someone else's life. But that doesn't mean that you're not entitled to it as well.
That's
the
right.
things that you
right.
want. Yeah. Okay, well, that's an important part there. I know we're trying to cram so much in a short amount of time here right now. Okay, so a lot of these subjects, and well, not a lot, but a few of them are based around your book, Become, Begin to Be. Great title, by the way. Is there anything that we've missed out that you might like to add into this interview as well?
I don't think so. I feel like for people, now is the time to really sort of reevaluate what it is that you want. What do you want? What are your gifts and talents? What can you bring to the table to help create what you want? It's about stepping up, going, okay, like you said, the past is the past. Let's leave it there. But today, in this moment, what do you want? And then once you get comfortable and clear on what it is you want, what are your gifts? What are your divine skills and abilities that you can bring that'll help make that a success?
Right.
Focus on what you're good at.
Yes. Yeah. And don't expect it to come overnight. Sorry.
No.
No.
Absolutely. And, when you work from a place of integrity is absolutely everything. And you work with authenticity, and you just be yourself, you be real, and you focus on giving from the heart. And I know it kind of freaks me out because sometimes that can sound so cheesy, but it's so true. When you learn how to navigate from that, everything changes. Everything.
Yeah. So true. And you will be tested along the way. There will be lots of tests that come your way to just truck you off course. And, they're just there just to, as part of this, when you choose something, the opposite will appear sometimes, not all the time, just to make sure that you are choosing the right path, that you are.
Yeah, when something like that happens to me, I just say, well, that was interesting, but it helps me grow and evolve. I'm learning something always.
Yeah, there's no life on this planet that's not got things that are going on that aren't always, the best. But just being grateful for the good things that you've got, and that may be just a few things. That's, gratitude is such an important part of the process as well. And I hope we've, in this interview, try to keep it all clear, easy to grasp onto, and to see that it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. It's very simple. And I think what you said as well, that love is the only answer, in all this. How much did I love myself today? How much did I come from love to another in today? Love. Simple as that.
Well, that is the foundation of my book, Begin to Be. And it is the lesson that my grandma specifically teaches through her channeling. And it's not just for me, it's for whoever's reading the book. It's about going back to the most simplest, easiest tool in the world to help change your life and change the world is love. Love, and my book also says that love has more power than war. Like, love could cure war, really. If everybody loved, there would be no war. I know that's huge and big and deep and all that stuff, but really, when you wake up in the morning, if you wake up grumpy, you can choose to shift that and choose to feel love instead, and your whole day will swing. But sometimes your head gets the best of you, and you're not able to do that, but it does take practice. And so that's what this book is about. It's about we all have access to love. We all can feel love, but it's about learning how to feel it and use it more often instead of just on default.
That's right. And also you offer readings as well. Is there a website to get in contact with yourself if you want a reading with you?
You bet. So my website is trynagower.com, and I've got a full website access to my book, and any other questions people have, that would be fantastic.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm sure our paths have crossed for a reason. I say that to some other people as well, and it's always interesting to see where these things unfold. I think I'd just like to say to you, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Kevin, and I've appreciated it, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.com, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.